So the significance. Why is it important that we can compile this information, and what do you do with it once it's compiled? Why do we do a title search? If you think in terms of the abstract, we do a title we do a title search in order to get enough information to hand to the attorney so the attorney can render the opinion. Now, if we're in the title insurance business, we get the information, the same information, gathered together to give it to the title examiner to determine the insurability, not the validity, the insurability of the title in order to write the title insurance policy. So, what do we do in a search? When we conduct a title search, we check all the documents that's recorded in the Office of the Recorder of Deeds, or Register of Deeds if it's in Kansas. This would be all the items, which would be deeds, deeds of trust or mortgages, easements, all the rights of way, tax liens, les pendings, affidavits, powers of attorney, corporate papers, anything that could be recorded. And when we began doing this search work, when I began doing it, that entailed doing a physical search of those offices. Now, a lot of these offices now have that information available online. It's still the same work, though. You still have to find the deeds, find the deeds of trust, find the easements, and determine whether or not they affect the property. So just because it's on a computer doesn't mean that it's a push of a button and you get a title search. You still have to look and examine each and every one of those documents to see if they do affect your piece of property. We also have to check the records in all of the courts for any judgments that are going to affect that piece of property. There's different kinds of things that can affect. One of those would be a money judgment. Mechanics liens, we have to check those in the court records too. Judgments from the federal courts, bankruptcies. It used to be that we didn't have to check those records if the property wasn't located in the county where that federal court sat. Today we don't have that luxury because of computerization and the internet. That information is publicly available universally. So the courts have held that because that's public information that is readily accessible to the public, those federal judgments now will affect properties in the entire state. So I can't say that because the property is not in Jackson County that a federal court judgment in Kansas City doesn't affect. Same thing with the federal court in Springfield or the federal court in St. Louis. They affect any property that those people are going to own within those districts. Another thing that we have to check is the taxes, the real estate taxes on the property. The state county taxes, the city taxes, we have to check special assessments, which can be leaned against the property. And each one of those necessitates an office visit to the tax office, the city offices, whoever has that information. And again, a lot of that's available online now, but we still have to check the status of those taxes, see if there's back taxes, and get the correct amounts for use at closing for proration. Now, what do we do with this information? The results of our title search. So we look at our function as an abstractor or a searcher. Our job is to find the records and show the results. So we find what's of record in all those various places, the recorder's office, the tax offices, and the courts, and hand that information over. The other thing that is important for us then is to be aware of the nature of real estate ownership. So as a searcher, it's incumbent upon us to understand the difference between tenancy by the entirety, joint tenancy, tenancy in common, life estates, any of those various interests. This isn't information that you just know. You have to be able to pick that up as you begin doing your title searches, and we have to know what we're looking for when we read those documents. So it's incumbent upon us to know these key phrases, look for the words, know what they mean, and know what the effect is upon the property, the use of the property, and the ownership of the property. So the function of the title examiner, in case of title insurance, or the attorney if we're still doing the abstract, is to interpret the findings that are handed over by the abstractor or the searcher, to write that attorney's opinion if it's the attorney, or to issue the title insurance policy in the case of title insurance.